Welcome everyone. Today we have a new last epoch Falconer leveling and also farming build. Looking behind me, I'm currently level 75 with Falconer, and this is one of the insane speedy farming build I have tried compared to the Warlock and also Falconer for season 1 of Cycle 1. Looking behind me, you can see that we're extremely mobile, and I'm currently facing level 90 monsters, and you don't see we have any problems in terms of damage and also survivability. We have incredible amount of mobility going across terrain and also potential to kite enemies as we clear the map and also go through the objectives. Most of the time with the echo maps, it takes me about 1 minute, usually less than 2 minutes to clear any map. And this is extremely speedy, and I was able to reach empowerment or reach level 100 echoes within after level 76. So here you can see I was level 78 and all of my empowerment echoes are unlocked. So this build is incredibly fun and really speedy. So we have tons of haste, tons of mobility, and also tons of dodge. We'll be doing damage over time, we can be kiting enemies, we'll be resetting our cooldowns to allow us to have insane mobility, and yes, we also deal tons of damage to bosses. So just briefly show you guys some of the boss replays. I'll be providing you guys with a more comprehensive replay for each of the boss and also for the fights as I transition from level 55 into the echoes and then transition from the mid game into the end game. You can see that we'll deal some really decent damage and we're extremely mobile. So against those massive hitting skills and also against bosses AoEs, we can dodge with ease. And as you can see over here, we can be jumping around the map and we're extremely mobile and deal tons of damage. Now that I have unlocked empowerment at level 78, I have also tested the build with level 100 echoes, and we don't seem to have a problem. And you can see the replay over here of me fighting level 100 monsters. And yes, I will be extremely speedy still. It will take a little bit longer against level 100 monsters, but you can see with the Exiled mage over here, we can still deal tons of damage. And you can see I was a little squishy because my gear is a little out of date, but you can see the damage numbers really rack up. Within 2 attacks of my falconery, the Exiled mage died. And this is really fun, and I'll be farming all the way up to level 90 and maybe close to level 100 with the falconer with a few adjustments as I go through the game, and having a blast as well. So coming over to the builder's guide, you can see that I have crafted this manually myself with the gears that I was using. Now unfortunately, due to some strange error with last epoch, I was not unable to import my exact build. So I didn't fill up all the idols, but you can see where I was going with HP and also health and also physical and also any of the vitality, any damage bonus. And I did include some of the blessings, but I was unable to import my exact build because of error. But regardless, I have picked out all the skills for you guys, and you can see the skills are recorded, so you can see how I transition from the skills. And over here you can see the passives. So if you guys do want to have a look, you can see my mind work and also the concept behind it. I'll have a brief explanation on the second part. Now around level 55, you'll be clearing off the story and you'll be starting off with your echo for level 58. After that you can pick level 62, 66 and then go to 70, 80, 85, then finish with the 90 ones to unlock the empowerment for level 100. So during this recording, I started the recording over here. You can see I was level 64. And this is because during the time I was level 50-ish, I was just testing builds and getting things finalized. And I think around 64, I realized this build is pretty solid, so I decided to do more detailed testing and also recording. So you can start this build after level 50, and this worked perfectly. Now, one of the first things you're going to notice is that our Arrow Assault will now deal damage over time with the Falcons shooting little bolts at enemies because one of our passives. And this, in combination with the Dive Bomb, allows us to reset cooldowns. So what I want to do is, I want to use Dive Bomb when I want my cooldowns for Falconery, but just as a demonstration, you can see I kind of skip around really fast throughout the map with simply using Aerial Assault and killing most of the enemies who are level 80. So I was level 64 over here, fighting level 80 monsters, and we don't seem to have a problem. So you can see the falconery and also the combination of this build is extremely powerful, and also very speedy, which is a very important part to be leveling fast. Now brief summary over the bosses against each of the Monolith. So over here I'm fighting the Husk monster, and because you're extremely mobile, what you want to do is you want to be casting your decoy to provide you with additional dodge rate and also additional critical multipliers as you explode them with your dive bomb. Your dive bomb now have passive to explode your decoy, which allows you to gain some bonus. And together with aerial assault, you can be dodging a lot of the groundworks, and just with some not happy mobility, you could be moving around and also dealing tons of damage. So I didn't really have any problem with the bosses. It took a little longer because I was a little undergeared, but most of the time I had no problem. Now over here as a demonstration as you progress through the game, so now that I got to about level 70 and also 75, I start to have a better rotation of the skills. You can see that I was using aerial assault in combination with dive bomb, which allows me to kind of kite enemies behind me and then resetting my cooldowns, reducing cooldowns using the dive bomb. So just simply using aerial assault and dive bomb allows me to clear the map super fast. I will be saving my Falconer for direct assault, for direct snipe against elites or bosses or target objective monsters. Most of the time, I'm not casting my ballista. My ballistas or my torrents, my little bow turrets have been respected into reducing armor. So most of my build is focused on physical damage. Together with armor shredding from the ballista, we'll be reducing armor of enemies, which allows us to deal more damage over time and dealing more damage against single target like the bosses. Now because our build is quite mobile, you can see against each of the bosses you'll be facing the Monolith, most of their skills will have a wide AoE radius. If you preserve your aerial assault and drag your mouse to the end of the map, this allows you to teleport massively. Together with the ability to increase dodge rate with decoy and also to protect yourself a little bit, you can make armor shredding with your torrents and also dealing tons of damage. So what I'll do is I will also provide the replay of this entire showcase to show you guys how I transition throughout the game and how I fight each of the bosses. Now similarly over here, I'm here fighting the boss in the Chamber of Ruins. Now one thing to notice, your aerial assault does not allow you to jump over those lasers you just saw over there. And let me show you guys just again over here. Those lasers over here, you do not want to try to jump over them. Simply running like normally will do. You want to run close to the boss and you don't want to get hit by it. Our build can be a little squishy because we focus on mobility, damage, minion damage, and tons of critical chance and also critical multipliers. This do leave us a little vulnerable. We can't face the boss, compared to the tankier builds. So do be aware guys, you cannot jump over the lasers and you just move around. Be a little mobile and you should be fine with most of the bosses. Now similar fighting with the Herald over here, this is the reindeer boss. This one is a little interesting. One thing to notice with this boss is that you want to stay in the area radius while dodging his force attack. But try to not get him into the corner too much. So here what I'll show you, we deal tons of damage. So as you level, you realize that you start to deal more and more damage. So within 10 seconds of the fight, I was able to get the boss down to 50%. But then what's going to happen is, I'll fast forward a little bit, and then I was fighting him towards a corner, and once he get into the corner, I was having trouble to get him with all my skills. So if you're fighting bosses like this one, try to not kind of corner yourself in a corner, and this what means his AoE is more, limiting your mobility, and also, limiting how much damage you can deal against him. But as you can see in the replays, we don't have any problems with any of the bosses with level 90. Finally, coming over to the level 100 echoes. As you do those echoes, you're going to find yourself to be a little more squishy. And because you won't be getting the bonus chest reward if you die in the echoes, I really recommend you looking forward to getting more vitality and also more increased life while capping your resistance and also getting more dodge rate. My HP is definitely not the highest. During the recording, I was less than 1200 HP. My goal is to get to maybe close to 1500 HP, so I don't get one-shotted. Because we have tons of life still, the moment I don't get one-shotted, my life will go back to max instantly. And this allows me to become sustainable and also durable while I'm farming for monsters and also for levels. Now briefly going through the gears, passives, and also skills of choice. I'm currently using this particular weapon. You might see in my previous videos, this is the ideal stat I wanted onto this weapon. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to craft this exactly. I do had a friend, I think one of my friend half mine crafted a better weapon into this one. So currently, this is the stat I got it. Oh yeah, my friend's trying to get me to a party. I'll help him after. So here, notice I got melee damage. I couldn't get all the stats I wanted just because of randomness. I tried to disenchant more swords onto it, but I just couldn't shatter the right stats. So ideally, if you can get half of those stats that you can see over here on the builder's guide, it's already extremely powerful. Now alternatively, if you don't have this particular sword, you can use this particular unique spear. This is also not bad. This provides you with tons of physical damage, physical penetration, and also dexterity plus area skills effect with increased dexterity. Now if you don't have those two, just going with any of the two-handed spears or two-handed sword will be helpful. So notice the base damage for this one is 107 melee damage. Together with some really top tier rolls of the tier 6 with its million damage and also million bow damage, this will boost your damage by a lot. So any of the two-handed items is preferable. I'm not perking myself into builds that allows me to use a bow. So if you're going for the bow, you can go for the Ranger's Mark. Because I'm going for a two-handed weapon, I'm going with the Expert Duelist over here with two-handed weapons like swords and also with the javelins. Now briefly going through our passives, you want to stay mobile while having evasion, which allows you to reduce damage taken. Similarly over here, Tailwind also allows you to become more mobile and also reduce damage taken while mobile. You'll be doing tons of damage with your Falconer, together with a combination of critical chances and also ways of dealing additional damage. I did go for some of the value points over here just because I was testing those out, and this gives me a little bit of bonus HP, bonus dexterity, and also bonus armor, just to try things out. So this is a work in progress. I'll be optimizing this one for you guys after level 85 or maybe after level 90 for a more solid build with direct points. Because I'm only level 75 or 78, I'm trying to test a few builds as I go through those. Now you might notice most of my skills are level 22 or even 26 over here. It's because having the plus skill ranks on the weapon, on the helmet, on the chest, and also on the relic. This allows me to achieve a lot higher skills than normal. And this in return will allow me to go with some free points to be perking into additional damage and also additional utility. Now before we finish, on the topic that if you don't plan or if you didn't get a good roll onto this particular unique item like this one, I didn't really get a great roll. The cold resistance, health is so-so, it's not the luckiest roll over here. I was more looking forward to armor shredding and also minion damage like this one. Using this particular relic type will still work. This is a level 16 relic and this still worked for me. So previously I was using this one and then I wanted the additional rogue skills together with the chance of reduced damage with shadows. So how I was getting shadows, I think this works. So I was getting these unburial remnants and I was getting about 3 shadows because I was killing enemies with my wing burst. And this allows me to use the effect over here to reduce some damage taken while having active shadows. Now on the topic of the loot filter, I have made the loot filter after level 55 up to level 80 I think I'll be using this particular loot filter. Just briefly on the loot filter over here, I have started to hide certain exalted item that is not tier 7 and I have kept exalted items that I think I wanted. If you guys do want to follow this particular loot filter, do keep in mind guys, this is more of a mid-game loot filter. This is not your early game. I do have the early game loot filter, I'll also have that one for you guys as well. And once you get to the mid-game, you're looking for tier 7 affixes on most exalted items, and I'm only looking for a certain exalted type of items. Now I'm not saying this is going to be the best loot filter and it's a still work in progress, but with each of the videos I make, I'll be updating the loot filter for you guys with the Falconer and also for the Warlock. So what I do now is I'll provide you guys with a shorter version of the highlight. I realize this highlight video is actually like, how long was it? This highlight video is 15 minutes. I'll try to provide you guys maybe with 3 or 5 minutes of the highlight because it's gonna be too long, right? I'll give you guys one fight. One was level 90, fighting level 90 monsters, and also fighting bosses, and then fighting level 100 monsters with the echoes.
Return.
Not happening. Not happening.